Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nobody, and I know nothing. Welcome to the next podcast. The topic for tonight is The Internet Isn't Real. So, now that I've said something completely and utterly ridiculous, let's jump into it. So, the Internet is, in a literal sense, real, of course, seeing as you are listening to this via the Internet, or via, whichever pronunciation it's supposed to be. But I think most people conceptually don't think about the internet enough. So it becomes not real. And to jump in a little further, basically, the internet isn't a thing, it's a lack of a thing, more or less. So the internet is sort of like space. And websites you can go to, browsers you can visit, all of that are like stars and solar systems. And what holds all those things together is void, nothing. And that's the internet. The internet is nothing that strings together a whole bunch of things that are something. And so the way it's perceptually viewed, I guess, for me is the internet starts like a door. So say you're in a room and there's a door, and above the door is a lit sign. And the lit sign is either red or it's green. If it's red, you don't have access to the internet. If it's green, you do have access to the internet. And that's just purely whether you have internet or not, like Wi-Fi, Ethernet, take your pick. But you start out in your room. And the room, in this example, is your home PC, console, laptop, take your pick. Whatever device you are using that functions regardless of internet connection or not. So, and it's hard to understand what that thing is because your ability to understand what it is limited to the screen. So the way you interpret it is constrained to the borders of your screen. And so you have your walls, you have your four walls, the four edges of your screen, of your home base. That's your whatever device you're using that can access the internet. And then you have a door. And sometimes the light above it is red, sometimes it's green. If it's green, you can open the door. And when you open the door, you get, well, nothing at first, really. So I would say, for example, if you were to be using a browser, say Google, Firefox, Internet Explorer, what is it? Edge. That's what it's called. The new Internet Explorer Edge. If you were to use any of those, that is sort of a blank wall because it's not offering information. It's offering the potential. So it changes from essentially a door in a wall to an open door to just white, essentially. Like you perceive it as something, but it's not displaying really anything that you can use or interpret. So then you tell your search engine to look for something, and suddenly that white extends into a hallway, and there's untold numbers of doors. It could be 10 doors, it could be 10 billion doors. It just all depends on what you're searching for and how specific you are. So now the internet has gone from nothing to something, that something being the hallway, the branch between some things. And now you can perceptually understand it as what it is, which is essentially just a really long hallway. And then each door opens up to whatever particular browser or website you're trying to find or get access to. And the internet is the connecting portion between it that you don't really notice or pay attention to until you want to back out into it and try other doors. Say you open the first 5 doors and you're just not finding what you're wanting. So you just run down the hallway and try the 200th door. Who cares? Who knows? Maybe that's what you want. Maybe it's not. I mean, you only have 10 billion to try. Surely one of them's what you want or need. Of course, most people don't search past the first 40 doors, but that's not the point. So the internet's nothing, but it's something, but it only becomes something when you want it to be. Because our access to the internet, interestingly enough, our computer or technology is essentially rocks that we trapped lightning inside of, and for some reason they think in a rudimentary way, in such a way that we can get access to the internet, which is not really a thing. It's a thing in the same way a computer's a thing, and you're talking with it along with an untold number of people or nebulous tabs, or not tabs, sorry, browsers or websites, all linked together onto this thing that is real in the sense that it's like a server room, but it's not real in that what you access isn't the server room. And how you access it, if you have good enough internet and you have fiber optic, which is just essentially flexible glass rods where light is shot down them in order to transfer data as opposed to electrical impulse signals. Much better, much more efficient, much faster. So now we've got something of how the internet works, but not necessarily what it is. Other than that, the internet seems to be more or less nothing, but it connects to everything, which is why, like the space example is, it's the void that connects things. So we have our things, and then we have the void, and the void is the internet, and the things are whatever we're trying to access, websites, browsers, all that fun jazz. So how do you think about the internet is the next question. You can think about it in the way you think about people you've never met, I guess. So you know there are people you've never met, but how do you think about someone that you've never met? You have this broad understanding of like a person, and then you think, well, they'll act a certain way, but I don't know what that certain way is. I just know they will act a certain way. Perhaps there's certain expectations of politeness or mutual respect between strangers, but they're no more real to you than the internet is, or no more real than your thoughts are that you can hear in your own head. How real are the thoughts in your head? How real is someone you've never met? If you don't have a direct, I guess, something like one of your 5 main senses, seeing, hearing, touching, I guess smelling if you're unlucky, or maybe you're lucky, maybe they got good cologne, deodorant, perfume, whatever. But please don't taste random people. Please. Okay, so we'll go with 4 of the 5. We'll just leave tasting out. Unless they agree to it, okay? So tasting is out with an exception. Okay, sorry. So you have ways of perceiving people. So from your perception, you use the perception to create an understanding. So you can't, it's harder to form an understanding of someone you've never met without any kind of information in order to, in a way, understand and process what the thing is or person is. The internet's the same way. So the only time you really interact with it is when you're using it to find other things. So it only becomes real when you use it. So it doesn't exist until observed. which is a fun thing, except we know it exists without being observed, just like we know that someone we've never met exists, but we don't have any way of understanding who they are, or how they look. Things of that nature. And then you jump into it. I did mention how real or unreal thoughts are. So when you think to yourself, you're thinking, you think that you think, and thinking that you think thinks. I think that works out. So the thought, what is the thought? The thought is your brain perceiving itself doing something, generating an idea, but your brain, if you can hear yourself speak to yourself, whether that's your voice or someone else's, and by someone else's, I mean someone else that you know. I'm not talking about your schizophrenia. I'm in your walls. Sorry. So the thoughts have sound that your brain tells you are there, but you can't hear it outside of what your brain tells you you're hearing, but you're not hearing anything. So the thought that you think that you heard wasn't heard because it exists, but it doesn't make a noise. But you think it does. The thought you thought, the thought that you thought is audible, but only to you. So the internet is real when you use it, and only when you use it, because that's when you perceive it. But it exists outside of your perception, like a tree falling in the woods. You know it happens. You know it makes a noise. Or at least you presume it does. I don't know. Well, granted, ants are pretty loud, but hey, who knows? Maybe there's ninja trees. You don't know. I don't. I most certainly don't know. So, perception defines understanding, and so when you limit your capacity to perceive something, it likewise shrinks the box of your understanding. And so the way to understand it is to merely ask how it functions and not what it is. So now the internet's real, but only in how it works, not what it is. Because what it is, like I said earlier, is it's the hallway. But how it's the hallway is how it is why it's real, versus what it is why it isn't real. Except it is. Because you can destroy what makes the internet work, and then no one has internet, and then the internet's not a thing. But if you were to blow up whatever makes the internet work, whatever those server rooms are, however, I don't know how it works necessarily, but if you destroyed whatever makes the internet work, it would not exist. And now we're back to the existence of someone that you don't know. Because we know it did, or maybe this is more like a dinosaurs thing. Would the internet leave remnants that you could access? If you have a archival website, does it work without the internet? And if it does work without the internet, well, I guess that just means you have your own hard storage of information. It's sort of like a library at that point, where the internet is the door you can walk through, and internet access is your library card, so that you can go in and peruse the information, find books that you like, all that fun jazz. So basically, I lied to you in the very beginning. And I've been working, and I'm just talking through it, about how the internet's not real, but it is real. But it's more real than it's not real. Just like your thoughts are real, but sort of not real. Because you can remember things that you think, sometimes. not always. Short-term versus long-term memory, or whatever that is. So, back to thoughts and their relative existence or non-existence, and hearing your thoughts. Can you deny the internet the same way you deny your thoughts? I mean, not in the literal way where you deny the internet, where you literally just turn it off, per se, but more, no, that's a bad thought line. You can just turn off the internet. Or you can just block certain websites, ads, people. There are many ways to stop the internet, I guess. One of the ways being the electrical grid. Anyways, not sure what I got to point-wise on this. Sort of had an idea. Lost it at about 30 seconds in. Hopefully, this is more than just rambling. Odds are, it is just rambling. But that's the point of this podcast. A thought, rambling thoughts, trying to remember what you said. I guess, not you. Me. You're not talking. I'm talking. Well, maybe you're talking to me. Maybe you're calling me an idiot. Because you're right. But that's not the point. I'm talking. I can't hear you. It's the way I like it. Gotta love it. So, yeah, we'll call it rambling thoughts. The internet is real in a very strange way. In a way you can't truly perceive properly, but you assume to be real because you got to understand it somehow to use it. But anyways, I'll wrap up there. Yeah. Well, it's been fun chatting with you all. My name is Nobody, and I know nothing. Have fun, stay safe, don't talk to bears.